Welcome back, everyone. We are starting on page 30 of Jack's run where we just left off. They were starting to talk, so Mac right now in the book, is talking with his father about when Sam came in and talked to Mac's dad, and he was alone. There was no guards, which is a very odd thing to have happened according to Mac's dad. So let's find out what's going on. To get in to see me, with or without a guard, he would have to know some very important people in our government. He looked at Mac for a moment, then said, Sam told me what happened in Elko with you and Alonzo. That was pretty hairy. I just did what Sam told me to do, Mac said. He set the trap. His father grinned. He said you were a cool customer. Alonzo and his men had guns, but you didn't panic. Not many kids, not many adults would be able to keep themselves together in a situation like that. At the time, Mac had been scared out of his wits, but he didn't mention this to his father. If it hadn't been for Sam, he probably would have been a blubbering idiot when the guns came out. Sam also told me, his father continued, there were 3 other families in your school in the witness security program. You're kidding me. He shook his head. When the marshals find a location that works, they usually put more than one family there. My principal didn't even know about me, Mac said. At least I don't think she knew. Does Sam work for the U.S. Marshal Service? Not officially, but the marshals asked him to keep an eye on their witnesses. Doesn't make sense, but there it is. Unai, Max said, Sam's nickname, the Basque word for shepherd. Kat's grandfather, Benet, said all the kids at school were Sam's flock. He watched over us. He did a better job than the marshals, his father said. So what happened to the diary? Jack asked. Sam put it in a safety deposit box in a bank across the street from the courthouse where the trial's being held. He gave me one key and kept the other for himself. Did you read the diary? Some of it, Mac admitted sheepishly. His father had told him not to read it, just enough to know what it was. That's okay. I was going to turn it over to Pelton as soon as I knew you were safe. But you know what happened. Alonzo found us. Yep, they didn't keep you safe. Sam suggested I hold off on handing it over for the time being. He said it's the only real weapon I have against Alonzo, and I shouldn't give it up until absolutely necessary. So far, I've been able to hang on to it. I'll see how it goes at the trial. If I have to, I'll walk across the street to the bank and make a withdrawal. I want to be at the trial, Max said, even if I don't get to testify. His father shook his head. Mom and I have already decided. You're not going. The trial could last weeks, maybe months. We'll be stuck in a hotel room under heavy guard. You wouldn't even be able to go for a walk. For the first time in 8 months, Alonzo and his people will know exactly where we are. We'll be vulnerable, exposed. We're not going to put you or Christine into that situation. It's bad enough that Mom will be there. End of subject. In their family, end of subject means end of subject. This, accompanied by the glare he was giving Mac, made it crystal clear he was not going to change his mind. Where am I going to be while you and Mom are in Atlanta? You'll be in LA with Christine. For how long? For the duration. If the trial goes into the fall, there's a chance you may have to start school out there, but we'll get you back to Mateo as soon as we can. I'm sorry about all this, but we don't have a choice. There's no place else for you to go. Mac could think of a lot of other places he would rather be than Los Angeles with Christine, but his father was right. There really weren't any other options. You'll have your own room there, his father continued, and there's a health club right down the street where you can work out. Did Christine know about this before she left? Mac asked. His mother was always telling his sister things that she didn't tell him. At least that was his impression. Mom didn't drop it on her until this morning. How'd she take it? His sister and he had this love-hate thing going on, and they didn't always get along. Mac suspected that she was even less thrilled than he was about the situation. I think she's okay with it. I bet, Mac thought. When do I go? Mom's flying back tomorrow. When we go up to Norfolk to pick her up, you're catching a flight to the West Coast. Day 2. Take off. Christine listened patiently to the long list of things to watch out for, which her mother had repeated at least a dozen times in the past 24 hours. They were on their way to the airport to catch her mother's 5:30 a.m. flight to Norfolk. You have my cell number and Dad's, her mother was saying, and we have yours, of course. Please call us at least once a day. I know it's a lot of trouble, but if you don't call, we'll be worried sick. We won't be able to answer if we're in the courtroom, but leave a message so we'll know you're okay. Christine tuned her out as she drove down the freeway, surprised at how much traffic there was so early on a Saturday morning. The membership I got at the health club is a family membership, her mother was saying. Maybe you and Matt can work out together sometimes. Christine glanced at her mother. This was a new list item and not very well thought out one. Her little brother would not want to work out with her at the club. Ever. And she wouldn't want to work out with him either. It wouldn't hurt, her mother said, catching her expression. Mac's going through a hard time right now. Mac, Zach, Jack had been going through a hard time his entire life, in Christine's opinion, and had very little to do with the name changes or the witness security program. He was strange long before any of this happened. Unlike you, her mother continued, he didn't choose to come out here. We forced him into it. Christine laughed. His only other choice was to be sequestered in a hotel room with just you and Dad as company. In 2 days he'll be begging you to let him come out here. He'll be fine. I'll be fine. The only thing you need to worry about is Alonzo Aznar. Alonzo Aznar. She still got a little shudder of fear at the mention of his name. Unlike her brother and father, Christine had never seen his face, but he was just a silky voice, with a black ski mask pulled over his head and a pistol in his hand. You're right, her mother said. I guess I'm just a little nervous. Here's the airport exit. Christine took the off-ramp. What's this thing Hannah had to go to last night, her mother asked. A cattle call, Christine answered. Instead of an agent arranging an audition, everyone is welcome to try out. If you don't get in line the night before, all the openings might be filled before you get a chance to audition. So everyone just sleeps in line? They bring sleeping bags and food and make a party out of it. What's she auditioning for? A television thing. Christine knew a lot more about the audition than she was saying. In fact, Hannah had wanted Christine to come with her, but Christine wasn't sure she was ready for something like that. No use in worrying her mother over something that probably wouldn't happen anyway. She pulled the car up to the curb in front of the terminal. Do you want to come in? Her mother asked. I have some time before the flight leaves. I think I should get back before the traffic gets any worse. I suppose you're right. Her mother got out and Christine followed her around to the trunk and helped her with her suitcase. I'll call you, Christine said, giving her mother a hug. You have Mac's flight information? Yes, Mom. I love you, her mother said with tears in her eyes. I love you too. Christine watched her disappear through the sliding door, then climbed into her car and pulled away. On the drive back, she found herself thinking of her father, something she had been doing a lot of lately. She missed him, and hoped the trial would put an end to this terrible guilt he carried for what he had done to them. Her thoughts were interrupted by her cell phone. She answered it, expecting it to be her mother. Where are you? Hannah asked. Driving back from the airport, Christine answered. How's it going there? We had a blast last night. Pretty wild, not much sleep, and we're starving. We're holding a spot for you, but you have to bring us muffins, juice, 2 dozen donuts, coffee. Lots of coffee. I don't know, Christine said. I had to wake up at the crack of dawn to take my mom to the airport. I'm pretty tired. You're tired? We've been sitting on asphalt since early yesterday. Really, Christine? You need to come. You will be going to dozens of cattle calls like this, she laughed. Well, not exactly like this. Nevertheless, it'll be a great experience for you. Please come. Please bring food. How far back in the line are you? No, 100 people or so. We're going to get in, that's for sure. There are literally miles of people behind us. They handed out numbers yesterday, and we managed to get one for you. Hang on. Christine heard some rustling, then Hannah came back on the phone. It says, Christine Green, number 123. If nothing else, you can put it in your scrapbook. Christine sighed. When she had been Joanne Osborne, she had a thick scrapbook with newspaper articles, playbills, and even a few reviews. It seemed so long ago. Another life. She had started a new scrapbook in Elko as Wanda Granger, but like the first one, she'd had to throw it away when she became Christine Green. You weren't allowed to take evidence of your past life into your present life. I'll come, she said, but only if the people behind you don't mind my cutting. Hannah laughed again. Who do you think the donuts are for? It's all been arranged. You're set, little sister. Christine smiled. She always wanted a big sister. It looked as though she had gotten her wish. She hung up and glanced down at her clothes. She was wearing jeans. She wished she had thought to put something dressier on before leaving the house. There wasn't time to stop and change now. They would just have to accept her as she was. It took her over an hour to get the food and drive to the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, where the auditions were being held. After driving around, she finally found a parking spot, and with her 2 heavy bags of provisions, she walked over to the line, snaking its way back and forth in front of the stadium. People were singing, putting on makeup, dancing, juggling. There was even a man eating fire, which could not have been very good for his voice. It looked like an audition line for a circus, not a television show, and she began to wonder if she was in the right place. As she neared the front of the line, she started to see sleeping bags, air mattresses, and camp stoves from those who had spent the night. Some of the people were still asleep, or at least trying to sleep amid the riotous noise and bright morning sun. 123, Hannah waved. Our savior! She handed Christine her number in exchange for the 2 bags, both of which were happily emptied in less than a minute. A girl came down the line carrying a clipboard asking for people's paperwork. Last call, she shouted. If it's not filled out and signed, you're not getting in. What paperwork? Christine asked Hannah. Oh, Hannah rummaged through her backpack and handed a manila envelope to her with 123 printed neatly on the outside. It's just a standard release form saying they're not responsible for anything that happens to you. They have the right to videotape you, use your image, blah, blah, blah. Same old stuff. Christine took the thick sheath of paper out of the envelope and started reading it. Last call, the girl shouted again. Hurry, Hannah said, flipping to the last page. Just fill in the blanks. Name, address, birth date, phone, who to call in case of emergency. Christine started scribbling the information down. When she finished, the clipboard girl took it and told her she would have to show a picture identification when she was let through the gate. A little bewildered, Christine turned to Hannah. How's this going to work? I don't know exactly, Hannah answered, but I talked to some people who have been through it before. They said there are a series of auditions in front of different panels of producers. They either pass you up to the next level or you get sent home. If you make the cut tonight, you get a chance to go to the semifinals. Then only 12 people from the semifinals make it to the TV show. How long do you think it'll take? I have to pick my brother up tonight. Hannah laughed. I wouldn't worry about that. We'll probably both be eliminated before lunch. Chapter 6. Mac was having a difficult time deciding what to take and what to leave. He was also nervous about staying with Christine. He was sure the only thing that had kept her going through the rough spots over the past year was the fact that she knew she would be leaving her problems behind when she moved away. His coming to Los Angeles was going to bring it all back, and he didn't know how she was going to react. Christine had 2 moods, extremely happy or severely upset, with virtually no mood in between. His father had come to check in on his packing progress, and found Mac sitting on his suitcase, trying to get it closed. Rule of thumb, he said, if you have to sit on the bag to get it closed, it weighs over 50 pounds. I think it's okay, Mac said. We'll see. His father left the room and came back a moment later with the bathroom scale. The suitcase weighed 59 pounds, which meant Mac would have to sacrifice several more items he really wanted to take. About halfway to Norfolk, his father's cell phone rang. He repeated random words and then cut the connection, but kept the phone in his hand, knowing there would be another call. The computer doesn't like me to be more than 50 miles away from home base. In about 10 minutes, Don or Doris will call to find out what I'm up to. It took 6 minutes, and it was Doris. His father listened for a moment, then explained what he was doing and where he was going. We shouldn't be up there more than a couple of hours. Mac's flight leaves right after Melanie's gets in. He listens some more. Okay, I'll tell him. His father disconnected. Doris says hello. Mac's flight was delayed by half an hour, and his mother was a little early. To kill time, they went to an airport restaurant, where she started to tell them about the house, Christine's roommate, the health club. Her report was interrupted with a voice from their past. Neil? Neil Osborne? The 3 of them nearly fell out of their chairs as Chuck Smith, or Smitty, an old friend of the Osborne's family, wove his way through the tables. With a big smile on his face, Good Lord, Smitty said. I thought you'd been abducted by aliens. Mac's father was the first to get to his feet. He shook Smitty's hand, trying to hide his shock behind something that looked like a smile. Mac's mother was up next. Smitty threw his arms around her, lifting her off to the ground. Mac stayed in his chair, but this did not stop Smitty. He came around behind him, grabbed his shoulders, and gave him a bone-crunching squeeze. This can't be Jacko, he said. The last time I saw you, you were in the hospital with 2 busted legs. The accident doesn't seem to have stunted your growth any. Jacko. The name brought a smile to Mac's lips. He hadn't heard it in over a year. Smitty was a cargo pilot for Federal Express, and before that, he and his father were in the Navy together. But Mac wondered if there was more to it than that. Smitty had always been very fit and still looked strong. Had he been a SEAL like his father? Smitty pulled a chair up and sat down. I've been trying to get a hold of you off and on for about a year. I called your house, the phone was disconnected. I called your cargo outfit, same thing. What gives? We moved, his father said. Obviously, Smitty laughed. Where to? Kansas City. What about the cargo business? His father shrugged. Couldn't make a go of it. Not enough business for us little guys. Tell me about it, Smitty said. Us big guys aren't faring much better. To tell you the truth, I'm getting a little fed up flying boxes around myself. It's kind of a letdown from what we used to do for a living. What are you doing in Kansas City? A little of everything. Pilot training, consulting, flying, left seat for the rich. Mac had to hand it to his father. He sounded pretty convincing. His mother, on the other hand, was still stunned, sitting mutely with a frozen smile pasted on her face. What brings you to Norfolk? Smitty said. Vacation, his father answered. Some friends of ours have a beach place at Hilton Head. His father's cell phone rang, and he pulled it from his belt like it was a six-shooter, put it to his ear, then realized his mistake. The computer was giving him the series of words that he couldn't possibly repeat in front of Smitty. Excuse me, he said, and then walked away from the table. Smitty gave him a curious look, then turned to Mac's mother. Going or coming? What, his mother said. Obviously startled, Smitty pointed at Mac's backpack and his mother's carry-on. Are you headed down to Hilton Head or flying back to KC? His mother just looked at him. She didn't know what to say. Mac came to her rescue. Neither, he said. His mother shot him a look. He didn't care. If she kept faltering, Smitty was going to know something was up. We've been here for a week, Mac continued, but I have to cut it short. I'm going to Los Angeles. A friend of mine and his family are meeting me, and we're driving down to Disneyland. Sounds like fun, Smitty asked. Mac's father came back to the table, but didn't sit down. His mother got up. I guess we better get you on that flight, Jack. You don't want to miss Mickey. We'll stop it there. And we will continue next time. Have a great day, guys. Bye.